For any of the owners, operators out there, 6 months ago to now, we cut our labor over 20% while doing the same job, and everything's done downstairs. And I had to tell the team, because all their fill-in work used to be updating and pictures on the menu and descriptions and everything. It's all done. Claude did it all. The computer work is now done by the computer so that we can talk to the people.
Going to get started here for our live podcast webinar recording. Today we're joined with Damon Crane from Doobie Nights, who's a single retailer in California, and Rosemary Slade from Kanha, who is his rep. They've been working together for, I think, like 6 years, Damon said. And so we're going to have a really cool conversation just in general about the buyer kind of vendor relationship, getting to talk a little bit about that, what Damon looks for in those relationships, what Rosemary looks for from the buying side. This is your first time here. I'm going to give us a little intro to Happy Cabbage. We are a platform that helps retailers stock what sells. So I love when we talk about it because we're obsessed with the retail buyer. We want them to do their job easier. We want them to do their job faster. We are trying to get them out of spreadsheets because spreadsheets have a bunch of limitations. You're gonna spend too much time in them. You're gonna accidentally order too much, and it's causing a lot of overstocked and aging inventory. And we're doing that with the platform Happy Buyers, which is helping people stock smarter, grow faster. It's a inventory management tool, the only inventory management tool built specifically for cannabis retailers. We're helping free up 150 $1,000 in aged and overstocked inventory in the first 3 months and helping buyers save like 10 hours a week. We're doing that by helping reduce those days of supply on hand by 17 days, so 40% average reduction. 11% reduction in total SKUs and 14% reduction in moving SKUs. If you are on any of these POS platforms, we do integrate with you. And here are some of our current clients and some of their results. Reach out to them because they will tell you great things about us. If you want to try out our platform yourself, we have an amazing free, no commitment 14-day free trial where you get to use your real data. You get to put in as many users as you like. We have personalized trainings. We work with you to kind of show you how to use the platform. You get real insights right away. So a lot of people will end up like using that data and they can reduce the amount of aged inventory they have that is more than the total year subscription. So it's definitely worth it. And if by the end of it, you're like, I don't know if it's the right platform for us, it's no hard feelings. We also allow now you to send orders from this. So we have like a whole ordering platform that you can send orders direct to vendors. And I know we'll talk about that a little bit today, but it's an awesome platform. Definitely give it a try. If you're not ready to do that, we can also set you up with an inventory audit. So we're give you an insight to what is currently in aging inventory with your own data, what is currently overstocked, what is like that discount percentage. And it's going to give you some really big insights that even if you don't want to use the platform, you can still kind of make some decisions of what you need to change. So reach out to us if you are interested in either of those things. And we always like to call out that we want you to share us with buyers. So if you aren't a buyer or you currently use Happy Buyers and you love it and you want to tell somebody else about us, we have an awesome referral program. So you can earn up to $750, $250 if they start a trial, and $500 when they become a customer. So you can scan that little QR code or go to happycabbage.io/pass-lead and kind of get a little bit more information and start filling out that form. I'm going to jump us over to Andrew and Damon and Rosemary to kind of start our conversation. Without
Awesome.
further ado, Andrew.
We're excited for this one because I think this is the first conversation we've had. We've had both someone who's working with a retailer and the retailer themselves together, brand and the retail side. And we're excited because it's the first one we've done in a little bit that's focused on California, which is my home market. It's Courtney's home market. I'm here in Long Beach, California. So I'm excited to kind of bring it back to the West Coast and talk about some evolving things in cannabis in the West Coast. So, um, awesome. I'll actually, Rosemary, I'll start off with just if you want to give just like quickly 30-second like introduction, who you are, how long you've been in the industry, type of thing, and then I'll hand it off to Damon to also do the same.
I'm Rosemary Slade. I've been in the California cannabis market for about 9 years. Um, I started with a distributor and moved over to Kanha almost 7 years ago. And so, yes, I witnessed the phenomenal grand opening of Doobie Nights. What is it, Damon? Like 6 years?
Yep.
And yep, I am a manufacturer's rep for the brand. We recently acquired the Lime brand here in California as well. Um, and yeah, I work mainly the Sonoma County, Marin County, and San Francisco regions for Thunderstorm brands. And Damon is a power user of any platform, actually. It's really awesome to work with him. He's really taught me a lot over the years in terms of forecasting and trying to manage just-in-time inventory, which we all know from any industry is not for the faint of heart. So, all right.
Not the big number. Particularly when you have hundreds of products, thousands of products, hundreds of brands, all kind of stuff. Damon, I'll actually pass off to that. That's a great introduction. Just like really quickly, yeah, who are you? Where you come from? All that, yeah, all that fun jazz.
Damon, owner and operator Doobie Nights. I'm born and raised in Santa Rosa, California, where we're located, and I've been in cannabis since I was, a young adult, and then in cannabis as a business shortly after in my early 20s. And at one point, I grew a lot of cannabis before it was legal. So, and then it all burned down in a fire, literally, here in the state in California, the Tubbs fire, and
Oh
that
no.
directed. It's all right. It was long. It was that was 7, 8 years ago, 8 years ago, and that directed me towards the retail. That was the reason I have Doobie Nights is because my farm burned down, and so I had nothing to do. So I opened a dispensary.
Just a light hobby.
Right.
Get into. Um, okay, I think to that, like kind of set the stage. Both of you folks kind of having been through the like ups and downs of California cannabis. I'm interested, and Rosemary, I'll start with you of like, what would you say has like changed the most in your experience?
Oh, in
Uh,
the industry?
yeah, in the industry in California, doing what you've been doing on the brand side.
Uh, so I actually came from POS and ERP background technology, focused on the hospitality industry for about 35 years before I transitioned into this industry. And I really thought that I would enter through the technology side. And then I looked at the industry about 10 years ago, and there was literally zero technology that anybody was developing, even, or that was available that was reliable. So it was very much a homegrown industry for many years. I would say the changes that I'm seeing now, probably in the last 2 years, would be that businesses are bringing in best practice business, general business best practices into their operations in terms of bringing in expertise in areas that don't touch the flower. So, maybe trying to get arms around forecasting, which is crucial in any manufacturing or retail business. So I would say that there is an awareness of that. I would say people are coming in at every different level of that or ability in that level of interest and know-how. So I think it's an exciting time to start looking at technologies and bringing in general business best practices for running a paper thin margin business.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that, right? Like we always remember, like retail, even outside of cannabis, is very, very hard. And then on top of that, you go within the cannabis, and then you have the federal government taking 20% out of the profit. Then you got the states who are like, I'm just gonna keep coming and coming and coming and coming, the municipalities, the
Well, which
city.
is exciting because they can learn hopefully from a lot of mistakes from the other states and start fresher. I mean, we're operating in other states, and I have to say, it's a lot easier than California.
Well, we were just talking right before the call. I was like, sometimes I'm out in like New York talking to people, so I'm like, you just wait. You just wait, it's coming. But Damon, what would you say, kind of like similar question of like what would you agree that like a lot of what is changing now has to do with just like the blocking and tackling and the fundamental business best practices kind of stuff? I know that that's
Yeah.
something you focus on a lot, so
You kind of asked the question, what changed the most for me over the years? And I just want to say the price changed the most. I sold an eight 25 years ago for $50, no tax. And then now I sell an eight for $10 plus tax. So it's the most devalued product that I've seen in my lifetime, period. No other product's been so devalued. So that's been the biggest change for me. But yeah, in real time now in our life, that is exactly what we have to be doing is becoming normal retail or we won't make it. Because I always tell people the analogy is when you go into a convenience store, which is what we are, you only see one employee most of the time. It's because that's what the margins demand. That's all they can afford. And so that's where we're going to be in the cannabis space. It's just having one
Mhm.
associate just taking your money and that's the end. And it's a commodity. And it's just a transaction. It's nothing. The bud tender of special has kind of gone down to there's so many customers they know exactly what they want, is come in for their pre-roll and run out the door, and they're okay with
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So
it's like they're becoming brand loyal or modality loyal or like they know what they want type of
yeah,
thing in a market as mature as California, I would say.
yeah. And I didn't get to mention earlier that Rosemary and I have been working together since we opened here, which is January 2020. The only rep and maybe one of the very few only brands that we've still been carrying since the beginning. The only rep that Rosemary's only rep that still is the one from the beginning. I mean, I've reps changed 3 times a month, let alone in 6 years. So uh, it's
No,
been a great stable relationship, and it shows in our edible sales. Kanha is 30% of our edible sales. So
what would
and
you
there's
attribute that stickiness to?
uh, customers, once they find something that they like, they do stick to it. And then our long-term relationship, it's always been available. It's always been in stock. We haven't had any issues in 6 years of major stockouts or major any issues with this brand. It's consistent. We can order it. It comes.
I've
Our
been hounding Doobie Nights for 6 years and I haven't let up, right? He's
it's
carried every brand that we've ever either
right.
represented as well, I have to
Yeah,
say.
and we carry every SKU from Kanha because we carry every SKU from our top brands, and it's our top edible brand, so it makes sense to carry every SKU. And it's our. I ran the question in Claude a minute ago. It's the top edible Kanha Nano Marionberry Plum by far, double the sales of the next edible. So I
You
think the
stock what
customer.
sell.
Yeah,
I can tout our company here. Our company has done some incredible things and is good to their employees. So that has a
that's
lot to do with it. And
Yeah.
actually, that you asked about the industry, I think companies are finally starting to realize extreme turnover doesn't help anybody.
No,
Damon is
no.
Damon has really honed in on that. I mean, it doesn't have to do with systems, but he's really honed in on employee management and really finding people's strength and then empowering his people, and it shows. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we we have one employee that still works here from the first hire, and others that have over 5 years experience here, and we only have 6 employees, and something like
Yeah.
17 years of experience working here amongst those six. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, then that's where it comes down to those thin margins, right? The thin margins, you need good talent, you need sticky talent, you need to be able to run a lot with a little, the type of thing. It's not the world where like, you can throw a lot of bodies into the shop all the time, but you're not doing that much transaction volume. Um, Related to that, I think Rosemary, you mentioned something about forecasting, right? Data stuff. And this is obviously like I'm a data scientist by trade. Obviously, I have a skin in the game on wanting to talk a little bit about data. So I'm interested, Rosemary, what information is helpful that you're getting from someone like a Damon that helps facilitate the relationship and helps keep that relationship sticky where you feel like you're able to operate, with education, with intelligence about what you're recommending to the retailer in terms of what to stock from the brand portfolio.
Uh, well, I'll have to say that Damon did give me a back end tutorial because he gets very nerdy and very excited about this stuff.
Glasses on, they come on.
He has it on this big giant screen. He goes, "Look at this! Look at this!" Actually, what he's really managed to do is facilitate just-in-time uh, ordering practices, and uh, he acquired a ton of inventory for 420, for instance, and then he found himself thereafter sitting on a fair amount of inventory. And so he has developed a program to maybe order more frequently on brands with smaller orders. And he's kind of just filling in spaces. And then I think once he does that, he'll be able to go back to like 3-week forecasts. So I think his ability to be able to do that has been really helpful for his cash flow. He pays on time all the time, which is amazing. And so I'm sure there's more, but that's the most recent thing that I remember discussing. Oh, and actually, I wanted to bring on another brand, and he was able to really see what that category could produce in the industry, in his store, what it's historically done, which brands are performing better, to make space on the shelf for me to bring on another brand. That's a difficult thing sometimes with a retailer, if it's an established category already, like the lime pre-rolls, they're infused pre-rolls. And so being able to use data to help justify bringing my brand on to his shelf and maybe possibly pushing another brand off of a shelf that wasn't performing is really valuable for a vendor perspective.
Yeah. That's I think you hit on what is, and I can tell you this, coast to coast, middle of the country, north of the country, south of the country, a huge tension that exists right now between what I would say are like the economics of the retail and the economics of the brand, which is this just-in-time inventory thing, right? On the brand side, there is a strong incentive to get the largest orders possible, right? Because that's just bigger orders or bigger dollars, right? On the retail side, there's a desire to get the best margins possible, right? And oftentimes those two things link together into very large orders, right? But there is then this whole cash flow constraint problem, right? With thin margins, like with the fact that like you can only really use the cash in the system that you actually turn over in a certain amount of time. And it's great seeing folks who have kind of come together and like, hey, we can be more comfortable with like higher frequency of smaller orders because we like it just helps the system flow. I'm interested, Damon, in like what information, what conversation, like how are you able to communicate upwards to be able to get that kind of alignment? Because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle a lot with.
Yeah. I, I can't remember how long I've been on Happy Buyers now, but I think it's almost been about a year. And it really just boils down to the data. You say you're a data scientist. I'm just a data nerd. I just want to see it and understand it and to know that I sell 4.87 indoor eighths a day and this many me and Rosemary did the task of just looking to see how many infused 5-packs we had in stock and we were selling. Well, happens to be a pretty large category here, and we also had a ton of inventory. So if I start breaking down these categories, which I've done very finite for indoor eights because it's something that's always a challenge of stocking out old inventory. When a brand comes to me and says we have a case of 32 and I know we sell 5 a day, it's an impossible connection. I cannot buy 32 of your indoor eights ever again. So this is something that I've not had to have a conversation with Rosemary in depth about because with Kanha, it's been 5 units a case to us forever since the beginning. And I've come up with an idea that no products should ever be sold in more than 5 as a demand on us, especially if the products are 10 or 15 or $20 each or more. I'm learning as a retailer, I can spend on plenty of brands right now. I can spend $500 and get 10 SKUs, or $100 or $200 and get 6 or 8 SKUs. Those fill my shelves with no risk, is what I'm calling. It's literally less risk is what we have to go after, because the products that will sell, exactly like you said, then give us cash to buy more products. And then if they sit past the 30-day mark, it's a liability, not anything you can use to run your business. So
Yeah. And I think that liability oftentimes translates into then a lot of conversations about, can I get more time to pay? Can I get credits to drive it out? Can I get discount subsidies to help push it? Like all that kind of stuff overall.
I was
Um,
just looking at some of the stats of Kanha, and the reason, we have 5% age inventory in all the Kanha brand. That's nothing. That's just some products that are past 30 days or something. No big deal. Um, Only $293 age inventory. We have 34 days on hand right now. We're in a good spot. We'll be we place orders probably every 2 weeks for 30 days worth of inventory. And that way we can fill in all the SKUs that are selling or randomly sell in our industry still, because it's somewhat young or not fully matured. People still come in and buy you out of things. They just came from the next town and they just bought 10 gummies and left. And you're like, that came out of nowhere. It's not a bad thing, but then you have to be able to see it and backfill it.
yeah,
So
get an order in quickly type of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And I think Rosemary touched on something that didn't come through earlier, where she said I trained her or preempted her, showed her. So as my reps come in, that I'm my top reps, I sit down with them and I showed them Happy Buyers. Listen, this is how I'm going to be placing orders. This is how they're going to come to you. Can you see this? Can you accept it? Yeah, absolutely, looks great. And I've been sending Kanha orders to Rosemary since the beginning of Happy Buyers, and she's got to see the changes, the new order system, the live inventory now. These things are just helpful to us. And the more finite ways or cut up ways of looking at the data, right? I didn't know that Kanha was 30% share on my brands until you guys added brands by category, which was only a month ago. So Happy
Trying
Buyers has been
I
great in
knew
adding.
that.
Yeah, yeah. You knew that from Pistol.
to.
Okay,
I
maybe
guess
it's
we'll,
purposeful.
I can't
yeah.
afford their data. It's too expensive.
Well, I guess actually to that point, Rosemary, when you're working with, obviously there's a spectrum of retailers and there's a spectrum of the information that they're giving you. There's a spectrum of, incentives that they may have or sophistication that they may have. Like in your experience, when you're coming to someone who isn't necessarily Damon, right? Who isn't as attuned to like these best business practices. What information and what things are you coming into those conversations with to build those good relationships if there isn't, that necessarily awareness on the retail side of their own data?
Um, well, I don't know if I understand the question fully, but I'll take a stab. You know, that's when it really falls to relationship that's been
Mhm.
established, and uh, luckily having a very successful brand that I can feel comfortable about, and the customer can feel comfortable about putting on their shelf uh, with expected sell-through. I often have conversations with people, and Damon sort of hit on it, that I would rather send you smaller orders more frequently than larger orders less frequently. And there's a few reasons for that. For one, I get to touch the customer a lot more if we're doing smaller, more frequent orders. Two, I'm pretty comfortable that they can sell through the inventory before the invoice is due if we're on terms, for instance. Um, and uh, yeah, I just really leaning into relationship and the strength of the brand. We happen to do self-distribution, which, being able to offer white glove service for that can be a real value, especially, well, in any retailer, but especially smaller retailers that may have does not have a full intake staff. They can feel really comfortable, that we're picking and packing properly, we're delivering properly, we're not letting their AR get out of control.
Mhm.
So we're, I think we probably approach it from that direction instead.
Yeah, that's something I didn't even think about the fact that when you do more just-in-time inventory, you have more frequent touch points. So therefore, you're like responding to the information. You're giving fresher, you're getting better assortments like that are the newest drops more frequently, that kind of stuff
Mhm.
for the customer and everything. Um, awesome. I guess Damon, kind of on the little bit on the flip side, when you're dealing with brands, right, who may not necessarily have as level of a relationship with that you have with Rosemary, right? Or have that level of like understanding, and they're just trying to push the biggest possible buy with the most possible SKUs, regardless of any awareness of the likely will that actually sell through. How are you handling and facilitating those conversations?
This has changed so much over the years. I used to succumb to the sale all the time. Buy these products for this crazy price, and it helps margins and stuff. But it doesn't help anything if the money's lost or tied up, and or the products don't sell eventually. So I cannot. It's impossible to incentivize me anyway to buy something other than how it will sell, because that's all that matters. And the thing I've been trying to one step back is in the beginning, and even now, I still love to support the smallest players. I have farmers that deliver their product directly, like the farmer, in quantities of 10 SKUs. And I don't mean 10 different SKUs. I mean 10 things, like a couple eighths of each flavor, like two eighths of each flavor. It's the invoice is $200, and they drive it right to me. And I still support them, and I give them a little tiny bit of shelf space. But they don't have the marketing backing and all the other things that the large brands do. So now when a brand comes in, the conversation is, what is your ranking in the state? What is your presence? What is your prominence to the customers, and how many customers want you? What's your demand in this area? Those kinds of questions, because that really is what matters as a retailer now. So that's what I focus on with the brands. And the data now in real time has given me the confidence to say, when a brand comes in and they're self-distro or whatever, and they have a minimum of, some now 2,500 still, or 2,000 or 1,500 or even 1,000. Just ask Rosemary. I told her even online, I cannot spend over 1,000 on any new brand. It's too much risk for my size business. I know that absolutely without a fact, because of the information I have from Happy Buyers and Claude, actually. But anyways, you put those together, and it's too much risk, because every time you buy a new thing, you're interrupting the sell through of the products you have on your shelf. And you have good data on that. It's like you're really working that, and to buy the thing, and then all of a sudden you break that reliable sales data with something that you don't know. Maybe the customer's just testing it, and then they don't like it. They go back to what they were buying. How many times have I bought a new product, sells through once and never sells again? I place one reorder and then I'm stuck with it. So it is a risk to buy new products for a retailer. There's no other way. It's just a risk. Sometimes it works out and there's a reward involved, but it's a risk.
Mhm. And you say it's like the ability for you to take on that risk comes down to like, do they have appropriate expectations on minimums, on case sizes, on like, you
All
know,
that, yeah. I try to say, like, if I'm spending a small amount, you need to be giving me an introductory offer of this product, not full cases and all that stuff. It makes no sense for where we're at. We need to test it on our shelves in small quantities, see if our customers will buy it, and then buy more. You can't buy less in this industry, and you cannot return products. So you have to be to the cautious side on purchasing in our industry here.
yeah. Um, one thing we hear often from brands, and it sounds like, with Rosemary, you were talking about, you're okay with the smaller, more frequent buys, but a lot of folks is literally the transportation costs, $6
Yeah.
gas, it's expensive. Brands don't necessarily want to be like that's where they rationalize their minimums. It's
Mhm.
literally the amount it takes them to send the truck there. Back to you, Damon, on like, what
So
do you say to
I
that?
literally say back that then you need to be more intelligent with your business. Meaning, you need to tell me when you're driving through my town, I'm on a major freeway. I guarantee that brand's going to drive right by me several times in the month. So the actual distance they're going to travel out of their way is very nil. I'm essentially located right between San Francisco and the north. There's no way they could tell me that they're going to drive right by me a few times in a month. And matter of fact, I've had the conversation with brand reps where they're going to San Francisco 3 times a week. And they're like, you know what? You're right. We could just stop in here 3 times a week if we wanted to. And then I changed that specific distro, up north distro, to serving me 2 or 3 indoor eights each weekly. And now I get fresh flour in small quantities every week from that distro. And that's helping us a lot, getting fresh products regularly. And yes, I'm intaking 2 and 3 quantities of eighths and quarters and halves and ounces because it gives variety in flour. And flour is parsley or lettuce, or it's an agricultural product.
It's a vegetable, right?
It's the farmer's market. Nobody wants to go to the farmer's market and see the booth from last month. I mean, it's just, you want to
That's true. I mean, it is very much like, I mean, you see it, like I see it here, when the sour bread truck in the like 6 a.m. in the morning is doing its rounds in San Francisco. It's just like stopping at every like Safeway and dropping off, and stopping at every Vons and dropping off. And I guess Vons.
And so every brand, every distro is a different size, and we can all appreciate that, but we have to be working together, right? And there unfortunately is a whales already in our industry. There's a giant distro in this country, Navis, and they are responsible for 56% of my business, and they come here almost 3 times every single week. So we have these conversations about case sizes with them and in their heads regularly, because I don't want anything other than I can sell within the next time you come. And if you're coming 3 times a week, I don't need 20 or 30 or 40 of anything. They don't sell that fast. I only need 5 or 2 or 10 or whatever. So we're getting there. The industry is slowly growing.
What do you think, Rosemary, there on the brand side? Like, is it onerous to have to be doing a lot of deliveries with transportation costs high? And like, how do you reconcile that with but it's also more touch points, faster turnover, better cash? How do you what's your perspective on that?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that is I assume that the executive team at my company is evaluating that on a regular basis. We don't make any money on our distribution, but what we're trying to do is not lose any money, of course, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons we acquired a new brand. CFO is thrilled at the prospect of filling our trucks when they leave the distro. And so I think that's the approach. We took a moment looking at third-party distro, and I think there's a decisive nope, not gonna go continue pursuing that direction. Instead, developing additional brands. I think is
to maximize
what we're looking at to obviously to increase revenue on our side, but to also spread the costs over more product. So it's expensive to offer that, but like I said, we offer white glove distribution services, and for a lot of retailers, that's very, very important. I started to say earlier, if somebody has a really small team, they're less likely to have to feel compelled to go through every piece of inventory as they take it. They tend to trust us more than a smaller brand or a more random brand. So there's some, so that, we factor that in also. And we're getting better at our internal systems. Like I mentioned in the beginning, we're adopting more general best business practices in terms of our ability to forecast and staff teams, and we're using more systems. We're really leaning into AI as a company right now. Our co-founders are still involved in day-to-day operations. This is our 10th year. And they're both serial entrepreneurs. This is not the first company or products that they've developed. And so, they're bringing in general business best practices into this industry to combat those things, because it was willy-nilly for years. I assume like once every 6 months they would try and reconcile the books and go,
Yeah.
So there are much tighter controls on all of those things as well. Yeah, so there you go.
100%. And I think that that's a really good dovetail into kind of what I want to kind of like wrap it up with before we see if anybody has any kind of like questions. But the future, right? The future, where everything's going. And, you said it, the big two letters everyone on this planet is talking about right now, AI, right? AI and cannabis. What I think is always very interesting about AI and cannabis is that at the end of the day, like, it is a plant, right? So like there is a physical product involved in all of this, right? And so it's not like, oh, like AI is gonna go like invent new like weed or something. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it'll put it. But when it comes to like of all the industries in which you apply AI in cannabis, it's interesting because it's a physical right? It's a physical good that we're actually dealing with, and so we're trying to get efficiencies out of that. I'm interested, and I'll actually start with you, Rosemary, and then go to you, Damon. How are you using AI right now? Are you excited about it? Or you're not? Like, what's your current like thinking about it?
I was at a social event over the weekend, and we were doing some random questions, and I think people are like, "How do you feel about AI?" And I think the whole room went mixed emotions. Um, but the way we are using it so far, and quite honestly, uh, we're just still trying to get our arms around it. Like I told you, the folks that are leading the company, many of them are pretty sophisticated business people, and I know they're using it on a different level than we are in the sales team. But before I go into a sales call, I will want to take a look at what my load in trends look like. Supposedly AI can give us some retail info as well.
Mhm.
I think at this moment that's a little less reliable, a little more suspect, but that is that's useful info. I'm looking at how big the category is in that retail shop. I'm looking at which brands they're carrying. I'm looking at and then when I walk in the store and see how much physical shelf space they've given, and then I go back and say, but why would you give this brand as much shelf space as my brand when I'm outselling them, by 3x? And they're like, I actually had a retailer go, yeah, why are we doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. So, I mean, that might be a simple way we use it. Or I somebody's asking for a bigger margin, and I'm able to look at how big their category is and say, okay, well, in order to do that, I mean, I'm being really specific here, but I
No,
need
it's
I
great. The
want you to drop
specifics are
I
great.
want you to drop this brand and those two small brands, and voila, now I have more shelf space, and now I have ability to increase your margin. um
That's great.
yeah, right. I mean,
It's
that's
like
just
it's like you have an analyst that's like following you around and can help like parse through
well,
the.
right, because I have to admit, the longer I've been out of school and working in general best practices, I mean, calculating all of this kind of stuff is no longer part of my vocabulary. So having a tool is helpful. Now I just need to remember how to frame the questions. I'm working on
Okay.
that.
You gotta be specific at times. Damon, you have been rapidly adopting a bunch of AI stuff. Talk to me about it. How's it going?
I'll try not to take the rest of the call and then sometime. Feel free to cut me off. No, I use it every day. I have ChatGPT through an app called Centra that has a Doobie brain. Knows everything about Doobie Nights. It crawls everything. It asks me hundreds and hundreds of questions that I've answered. So when it gives me output, it's very in the voice of Doobie Nights. I use that a lot. It manages my email. Like the Centra app is connected to my Gmail account and responds to every email for me. All I have to do is hit send and update if I want. And so that's helpful. And it does data analysis for me. It's connected to QuickBooks. It's been my SEO specialist for the last year, all kinds of things. There's all the helpers, there's 12 of them that do all their jobs. And then Claude is my newest favorite. I've got Claude connected to my latest API, which is my POS. I update my products with Claude. I update my customer records. I update my menu with Claude, which is absolutely. I've only been doing this for 2 weeks. It's insane. I had 14 different ways of uniquely spelling pre-roll on my menu 2 weeks ago. Now I have one. So
Told you
that's
he was pretty nerdy.
yeah. Just this morning, an hour, like literally at 8 o'clock, I was telling you, I connected Claude to Happy Buyers API and made calls, so I can ask Claude anything I want about the popularity and the my products, anything I want about my products. I asked it while we were on this call, what was my best selling gummy? Literally, that was the whole thing, and it told me with a lot of content right out of Happy Buyers and the run rates and how much we sold and everything. So I'm my next step. Oh, and then I have the API connection to some of my purchasers like Navis. Kiva now has a CSV. They'll take an order at a CSV file. I've already asked Navis if I could send orders through the API. They said not yet, but maybe in the future. So all of it, and then to the actual AI thing is I put all of my transactions for 6 years. No other, only Claude could do it. I tried all of them. Gemini couldn't, but it got it into a SQL-Lite database, 660,000 transactions from the day we started with this POS till today, and 60,000 unique customer records into a database that I can call to now and ask it anything. I know my actual churn. I know my run rates. I know my customers' lifetime values. We're launching a new tiered loyalty program, and all I had to do was ask Claude to write the program, and it gave me all the real tiers for our customer spends. I know that 760 customers make up half of my revenue out of my 3,000 customers a year. 10% of my customers make up 50% of my revenue. We are very heavily on the skew. No, not 80-20. We're 10-50. So it's a lot. Yeah, we really have to manage your loyalty customers. They're very important to us. So
one thing you said that in an earlier conversation I thought was really enlightening about this is one huge benefit of the ability to do all of that is when you have a small team, the rest of the team can talk to customers.
Yes.
Right? Like they can be spending their time doing human to human things because you don't have them renaming the word pre-roll in the POS.
Right. Yeah. That is true. For any of the owners, operators out there, 6 months ago to now, we cut our labor over 20% while doing the same job, and everything's done downstairs. And I had to tell the team, because all their fill-in work used to be updating pictures on the menu and descriptions and everything. It's all done. Claude did it all. The computer work is now done by the computer so that we can talk to the people. And I implemented a self-check-in kiosk, and my people freaked out. What are we supposed to do? I said, just walk up to talk to the customers and introduce yourself, but don't touch their ID. That's all. It's just the difference is you can let them check themselves in, but you can still help them. And that's all we are here for now, is to talk to customers and be humans.
Yeah. And I'll say, as someone who also, has studied AI, built some early AI stuff, I have very mixed feelings about AI in a lot of different domains as well. I will say, just with cannabis specifically, it's always been a relationship business, right? And I think because it's always been a relationship business, that is some of what causes the best business practices can be very difficult. They can take time to develop, right? We're all kind of fractured through prohibition in terms of information and all that. And it's the one thing where I do think some of these AI tools very quickly allow those relationships to all be informed by best business practices, good information, learn that faster, and hopefully expand the margins better because there's already no margin. So it's not like it can cut further. We're already so lean. So it's exciting seeing how fast both of y'all are just leveraging it to really help conversations, help relationships, right? All that kind of stuff. So awesome. Courtney, you come back. That means we must be opening it up for any audience questions, right?
Yes, back for the Q&A portion. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to put them down in the chat or in the QA, there's a little question mark at the bottom. I do have a question in here for Damon. Wondering, are you seeing flower customers, are they starting to value more like the daily drops or like fresh limited supply products over the same strains and cultivators always being available? Is kind of the question.
I mean, I think I asked Claude, what's our best selling strain? Blue Dream is in the state by far, and it's twice the selling strain of other strains. And then I've had many conversations with my customers about the package says Blue Dream, but the COA says 50 different batches mixed together. It's not Blue Dream. It was never Blue Dream. It's just a weed in a bag. So um, I think that that's both. One thing that I know about flower is it's just shrinking. It was 40% of our revenue, and now it's, I think, 25 or something, and vapes are 30+% of our revenue. So um, it's it's a shrunk on the shelf because you can't carry as much, and then it is a fresh product. I think honestly, my indoor customers just want to see new things. They I can only sell 4 indoor 8s, and then if I buy 8, the 4 sell and then 4 sit. It happens all the time. So once I saw that pattern happening, I just said they do want the fresh new ones coming in. And so we with this vendor that we're working with, we have a rotation where on the third drop, if there's any flour left from 3 weeks ago, that starts to get discounted out because we're only pulling in 3 SKUs each now, and this stuff is actually selling and moving. And I don't see any customers being like, "Oh, you didn't have this thing," because we saw variety of a lot of things. And then I guess another way to put it is in extracts. What I'm decided to do is put 30 SKUs on the top shelf of one each because that's what the liquor store top shelf looks like. And flour's not quite there. I mean, we have high end ounces that we have one of and things, but 8s, they're just high end in their nature. We're still selling $40 or $50 8s. That is a specialty item when you can pick one for $10 right next to it or 5. Our probably our best selling flour SKU is a half ounce of ground for $15. So unfortunately, the true customer wants Coors Light.
But it's
Great.
interesting you have $15 half ounce of ground and you can still manage to sell through fresh drops of $50, $40 8s.
You have to have everything. Just go into any convenience store, any retail. You have to have everything, or you can't
Yeah.
appeal to every customer because consumers are very broad in their needs and wants.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have both the craft beer and the natty light.
Just in the right quantities. Just in the right quantities. That's the thing.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a hard time though, I think in general to be a flower brand, right? I think just like the price compression and all that kind of stuff, which means it's a
But
good time to not be a flower brand.
the good news is they could turn their flour into ready consume products. Pre-rolls and vapes sell faster and gets consumed faster. So just turn your flour into something that's ready to consume, and it will get consumed.
Yeah, I mean, Rosemary, you mentioned the lime, the new infused pre-rolls. How has that been going?
How what?
How has it been going with the new infused pre-rolls?
Oh, it's been going great. Fortunately, it was an established brand,
Mhm.
which is why we uh, um, uh, elected to purchase that brand. We purchased the entire kit and caboodle, and in fact, the manufacturing equipment and proprietary um, product manufacturing. Anyway, so we have more cash flow, so we're able to have steady demand, and that was really what the issue was with that brand previously, and with smaller brands, I suppose. So yeah, no, and we have very loyal customers that retailers we've been working with for a long time. So it has been a nice addition to um, the product lineup. It's now a value brand, whereas Kanha is more of a lifestyle brand. So it's kind of nice that we have two different ends of the spectrum. Um, and yeah, our retailers have been very receptive. And
Yeah.
the product is, for what it is, it's great.
Yeah. There's actually something you mentioned there that I remember that we didn't talk about, and it's kind of a question for Damon to kind of wrap us up. one of the big things that, we spend a lot of time on with the inventory math and happy buyers is really analyzing, well, how much is this selling when it's in stock in a sellable room? Because in cannabis, it is incredibly volatile. The supply chain and the stock and stock outs, both from people ordering the wrong amounts and for brands running out of stuff, smaller brands, just like literally like, oh, it got really big and I don't have enough. It takes a while to grow the plant, right? Which is why you get these things where people are mixing a bunch of batches really quickly. Um, in your experience, David, like how much do you prioritize when working with a brand the fact that they have steady supply that they can actually bring? Like steady SKU set, steady, yeah.
I mean that stuff just kills them on their own. I've had multiple brands that disappear because they ran out of stock and we can't buy it, so then it falls off the menu, and then something else fills in the hole, and then you try, and the customers have already moved on. So it really just boils down to what the customers want. If they have the option and are forced to take a substitution, um, and then they like the substitution, that's the end. That's it.
Mm,
It's
mm.
detrimental to the brand and not to stock out of anything. You know what I mean? Like, here's an example. Quick Z's is a sleep shot that was our number one. It is their still number one selling drink, but we were selling 3 units a day on average, and they stocked out of that product for probably 2 months and didn't tell me. Sometimes brands tell you you're going to stock out, and you can get ahead of it, buy enough to get you through it. Some things like that. But we didn't, and we ran at it for several months, and now we only sell 1.8 units a day because it just crushed it. Those customers either went to another product because they didn't go to another dispensary because they were stocked out too, in our town at least. So that's a death of a brand, is to have,
Mm.
you can't fill your can't fill up your products, and Kanha has been steady over the years, never been
Oh
an issue.
yeah,
That's what keeps
very
them
steady.
steady.
Well, with that, I know, Court, we're at time. That's it.
That's it. That's it. I have no other questions. So, but yeah, thank you all so much for joining. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday. Thank you so much, Damon and Rosemary, for joining us. If you have any other questions, want to know anything, obviously reach out to us. And like I said, we have an awesome referral program. So if you know another buyer who needs happy buyers, let us know and let them know.
Well, thank you so much.
Will
See you
do.
next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.